Just waiting. Like, I'm literally just waiting. 1 minute. Come on, time. Okay. Like it's 7. Okay, I want to call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Yes. Okay, the first thing we have is public comment, recognition of guests. I don't think we have any public comment this evening. So up next we have presentations, and Evan Miles is here to do the athletic update. You'd like to come on this month when it's a light crowd, right?
Can you hear me? Okay. Is it too loud? All right. Good evening. We'll start the recap on our sports and athletics and activities on a positive note from last year with football. Our 8-man football team went 6-4, fourth year in the 8-man association. This year there are 30 teams on the schedule, and every year we think that's going to keep going higher and higher. I feel like someday the IHSA is going to take it over, or at least the playoff format. That's kind of evolving or seems to be going that way, but we'll see what happens. Of the 16 teams out of the 30 that made the playoffs, we were the 12th seed, so we had a couple losses that we didn't think we would lose. One of those was some timely injuries, or we might be in a position to actually host a playoff game. So making a playoff game for the first time in 21 years for any semblance of football was fun. So I know that Coach Schubert and Kramer are doing a good job, with the culture there and getting kids out. So I think we're around 24, 25 kids coming into this upcoming year. Let's see. One of the new teams is a St. Anne co-op with Donovan. They are week 2 schedule on a Thursday night. I don't think St. Anne has had football since the 70s or early 80s, so that's going to be interesting. So we're getting schools that used to have programs to have programs now. Like I said, first time of making any football playoffs since 2001. We had a first-team All-State outside linebacker. That was Joey Cole. We had a first-team All-State tight end defensive end and Matt Schumacher. Next year, or this upcoming year, it's coming rapidly quick. We're going to take a big step forward, I think, with our senior class and some of our contributing underclassmen, and hopefully make the playoffs again, knock on wood. Soccer was 1-14 overall. Numbers were a bit of an issue the last half of the year, having to ask to play some teams 9-on-9 on our matches to finish the season. Be it that it may, we did have some News Gazette All-Area honorable mentions. Those were Dylan Coffey, Ty Meeker, and Devin Ressler. Boys golf, they won 2 matches. That's all the information I got from Lori, but I tried to keep up with that. I think one of the wins was against Westville in our varsity boys tournament, which is the first weekend after Labor Day weekend that we host every year. Girls golf, Lily Inger was the LPC meet titleist, so if you know what that means, she was the lowest score of the tournament, so that was a good boon for her, and I actually saw her out there Monday playing, and she's got a good golf swing, so being only a junior, hopefully she, makes it into sectionals, not a regionals, if we don't have a team score that qualifies for sectionals this year, so it's kind of fun to watch her golf and get one of her friends to go out, I think, and Lori Weiss this year, So we're looking for good things there. Boys might be a little bit down on numbers this year, but from what I see from the junior leagues, golfers, there's a lot of numbers and interest, so hopefully that continues in the right direction. Varsity volleyball finished 25-12. JV was 10-13. That was an 8-win improvement from the previous year for JV, so Coach Vilwalk, good job. It was the 12th 20+ win season for Blue Ridge, not counting the COVID year, obviously, because it was truncated year for everything. Gracie Schaefer was first team LPC for four years in a row. Phoebe Reynolds was the second team LPC. Gracie Schaefer also was News Gazette first team all area and is Milliken commit. Hopefully I can make it down to watch her play once or twice. Gracie Schaefer is also an honorable mention state top 100 recipient as well. Moving on to the winter activities, boys basketball was 9-22 varsity record overall. That was a 6-win improvement from last year. JV, we actually had a team this year mostly, and that was good to see. So we didn't have to disappoint conference schools with, hey, can we shorten the quarters? You know, we at least had, 6 to 8 bodies, or players every game to field a team. So hopefully that continues going into this year. I know Coach Green is working hard over the summer, going to some shootouts, especially in June, and even using as the last days up through the end of July. Wyatt Pearl was a News Gazette honorable mention team recipient for our boys basketball team. We did not have a LPC nominee or mention. In the LPC, you have first team, second team, and honorable mention, and you have to have 2 votes to be on honorable mention. So it's very hard in our conference, with Sullivan now being 12 legitimate schools, to get any sort of recognition. There's many schools, depending on the sport, that doesn't get even an honorable mention. Girls basketball was 4-19 overall, so they had a few win improvement from the previous year. Numbers seem to be going in a good direction. Hopefully we have some semblance of sorts of a JV schedule, even if it's 10-minute running halves or shortened quarters, we hope. Ava Austin was the News Gazette honorable mention for our girls basketball team, albeit from D-Land Weldon. Our Scholastic Bowl team, varsity record was 37-18. They did pretty well after losing All-State Sammy Bogren and 3 other contributing seniors. JV was 7-18. Varsity-wise, we placed first in the IHSS-BCA Lincoln Turnabout out of 12 teams in the standard division. AJ Johnson was all-LPC first team. She was a 6th leading scorer. Andrew Nolan was also all-LPC first team, 8th leading scorer, and Alexis Wyke, also all-LPC first team, 9th leading scorer of the conference. AJ Johnson and Andrew Nolan were IHSS-BCA all-sectional recipients. So there were 2 of 12 players chosen out of 33 schools. The varsity team also placed 2nd out of 12 LPC schools competing in the conference tournament on February 11th. That was a lot of fun. We placed 4th in a highly competitive Masonic sectional on February 18th. And second year of 3 for Coach Miles that I've served on the advisory council for the IHSA and Scholastic Bowl. So there's about 6 members throughout the state that meet, and we have about a 3 to 4 hour meeting and talk about, is there any rules to change or policies to implement? What's going good for Scholastic Bowl? What could be better? So that gets brought to town hall meetings and et cetera. So it's kind of nice to get that recognition and be a part of that advisory council as well. All right, boys track. Cole Pemble, long jump state qualifier and finalist. He placed 2nd overall. So as a junior, we're looking for big things next year. Hopefully he can win Class A long jump next year and maybe place in the sprinting category. Cole Pemble was nominated to the 2nd team News Gazette All Area. Matt Schumacher was a state qualifier in shot put. As a junior, Matt Schumacher and Joey Cole were honorable mention News Gazette All Areas. Boys baseball, we had a little bit of low numbers. We had 11 out. We had a 1-17 record. We did not have any conference honors recognitions. Even News Gazette, we didn't have anything. So hopefully we can sustain the numbers for this year, kind of bridge the gap, and going into the year after this upcoming year, the numbers seem to be trending up. So hopefully that continues. Girls track, Alexis Wyke qualified in state for high jump, 100 and 200. She tied for 8th place at state in the high jump. Didn't have her best day, jumping into a headwind, but I thought she cleared the height that she got, and it barely fell off. So if she did clear that height, she would have got 5th overall, so she was that close. As a team, we had 12 members out and fielding 17 of the 18 events, not counting pole vault. We had an outdoor record of 71-15, so we accomplished a lot for our team, fielding and doing well, and not only relays, but a lot of individual events as well. The girls team won the Arthur Quad on April 4th. They won the Fisher Co-Ed 5-team meet on April 6th. First time ever won the Prairie Central 10-team invite on April 15th. Won the Leroy Co-Ed 7-team meet on April 24th. Won the Westville 7-team invitational on April 20th and May 1st. It rained out and we had to go back, so at least we won it. So we placed 2nd of 10 teams in the Ridgeview invite on April 27th. All those trophies and plaques are adorned out there in the trophy case right now. Alexis Wyke was a News Gazette All-Area second team, just like Cole Pemble as well. Gracie Schaefer, Phoebe Reynolds, and Alexis Winstead were News Gazette All-Area honorable mentions. We did break a school record in the 4x1, and we have the time and recipients on a baton out there in the trophy case as well. Girls softball did pretty well. They were 12, 14, and 1 overall. They lost in the regional semis. Alexis Wyke was a first team Lincoln Prairie Conference recipient. Cassie Zimmerman was second team LPC. Ellie Schleeper was second team LPC pitcher. Cassie was second team LPC catcher. Alexis Wyke was selected to the BNGSA All-Star Game. That was June 12th. I would have went, but my daughter had gymnastics that night. The ICA All-State Team, we had recipients on that. Alexis Wyke was first team, Cassie Zimmerman second team, and Ellie Schleeper was third team. So good job there, ladies. News Gazette All-Area, we had Alexis Wyke on the second team. Honorable mention was Ellie Schleeper and Cassie Zimmerman again. Bass fishing, competed in a sectional meet. We had 2 boats, 5 fishers, and I think we caught 2 pounds and 13 ounces of bass. So the conditions weren't ideal, so I think they did catch some other fish, but obviously they don't qualify if they're not bass, so catch and release. So there it is. With that being said, I'm pretty much done. I know I'll be asking for a few formal increases on officials' pay for this year coming up, just to keep our reputation in good standings for officials so they want to come here. So that's all I got. Thank you. Next.
Does anyone have any questions?
Is it a question answer? I don't know.
Okay. I don't think so. Okay. No questions? Okay. No, we're good. Yeah. We're an easy crowd here.
All right. Well, I am filling in for TJ, who, as you know, there's some transition with the junior high athletic director position. And then Mr. Huddleston also is not able to make it tonight. So I have that report. When I talked to Bert today, he said he thought you guys had all of this information. Oh, they don't have it? Okay. He said, oh, they already have all that, so you don't have to go through everything. Okay. Well, he did want me to just kind of hit on some highlights. That kind of the one thing that they were really focusing on is increasing participation and trying to get more kids out. And one of the ways they're doing that is they've kind of expanded some of the sports. They're expanding down and inviting 5th graders in to participate, which is allowable through IESA. And that just gets more kids participating at a younger age and hopefully increases their enthusiasm for the sport. And let's see, a big change that TJ highlighted was that their conference that they're in used to always, in all the sports, they would do an end-of-the-season tournament and single elimination tournament to determine a conference champion. They've modified that, and it's now going to be a showcase. So wherever teams place, the first and second place teams will play each other, third and fourth place teams will play each other, fifth and sixth. So everybody just play one game that day, which is really nice because we used to host the 7th grade SVC volleyball tournament, and because there were so many games, they needed 2 gyms, so they would always come here. And the high school would always host that. And now that it's a showcase, they can do it in one gym, so it'll be back down at the junior high, which is nice for those kids to be able to play and host there in their building. TJ said well, I don't know if it's TJ or Bert, because it says we interviewed multiple individuals interested in the AD position, still holding out there. Coaching openings have mostly been filled. They're still looking for an assistant basketball coach. All the other ones are good. Softball, they had, it was the 5th year of the program, and they felt like they had good numbers, but it should be increasing this year. They're expecting more kids to be out, and again, because they're including some younger kids, they're hoping to have some B games, which is like, JV at the high school with that. Baseball, same way, rebuilding, some issues with coaching paperwork and stuff last fall, as I recall, and but Coach Coffey's in place for that, and I heard from him the other day, he said he had 30 kids coming out for junior high baseball, so that's a really good number, and he's looking to definitely get a B schedule there as well. Yeah, both softball starts next week, I think, with junior high softball, and then baseball shortly after that. Girls basketball, still same two coaches coming back this year, and they seem to have really good connection with the kids, and we're positive role models for the girls, so the hope is that will increase some numbers there, because again, last year there were only 2 7th grade girls out, so there won't be very many 8th graders on the team, so they'll definitely have to fill in from the bottom up. Boys basketball has a new head coach. Matt Friel is going to be taking that over, and like I said, he's still looking for an assistant coach, and again, issues with numbers. They're looking to increase numbers as Matt gets going there. Cheerleading, Coach Wolling had quite a year, had a great season with the cheerleaders. So great that she decided that was enough and stepped down. And Andrea Weedman is the new coach. So, and I know she's already been in here for practices and camps and stuff, and had good numbers for that. So that's good to see. Volleyball always has good numbers, and again, they're excited about getting to host their conference tournament down there in Mansfield. And I have track and field. When I asked Bird about the numbers, because it says in there they had low numbers out, I said, well, what does that mean? Does that mean 5? Does that mean 20? I mean, I don't know what that means, and he couldn't give me specifics, but boys had enough where there were enough kids out there that they, as you know, the 4x1 team won a state championship, and they had a 7th grader who set a 400-meter school record. Braden Hollowell did that, so that was quite exciting, and they said they had 5 different events that qualified for the state championship meet, so looking for that to continue with those kids as 8th graders next year, and excited to have them here at the high school right after that. So you can ask me questions. I probably won't know, but feel free to do so.
Someone please have a question.
Oh, yeah, fire. I'll make something up if I don't know.
It's too bad Chelsea's not here. You know,
Oh, I
would
know,
have
she'd have a
one.
question. It's like people ask me all the time, can I ask you a question? I say, or what do they say? Yeah, or can you answer a question? I said, yeah, I can answer it. It may not be the right answer. It may not be what you're looking for, but I'll answer it.
We could guarantee that Chelsea would ask a sports-related
She
question,
would.
but she would have a question.
Yep, and I would answer it. so,
Generally.
Yep.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Yep.
Okay. Oh. He's like, one more point.
A couple things that I didn't know if anyone wanted participation rates, so if you do, I can rattle those off. If not, no big deal. Curious. All right. Football, we had 24, volleyball 17, soccer, we started with 14, but injuries got pretty drastic. Cheer football, we have 9, but I think we have 15 going out this fall. Cheer basketball 7, bass fishing 5, girls basketball 10 to 11, boys golf 6, girls golf 4 to 5, and I say 4 to 5 because I think Phoebe only golfed in 2 matches. Boys track 7, girls track 12, boys basketball 18 started. In grades and stuff like that, I think they ended with 15. Softball 13, 14, baseball 11, scholastic 12. So there you go. So, yeah. Oh, and 2 things. I think on the schedule for football, along with our 9-game varsity schedule for regular season, I think we did add 2 JV games at the beginning of the year. So develop the younger kids before there's injuries and before grades come into effect. You know, typically the first eligibility runs the Tuesday after Labor Day, so get some experience that way. So, hoorah.
So when you talk about football, have they set the homecoming date yet?
Yeah.
When is that? Is it early this year? Or? That's always an interest that
September
people.
29th, I think.
Oh, so much late. That's nice.
Yeah, and
Those early ones are rough.
I'm very happy about the 6 o'clock starts and the 6:30 starts, so, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
So are the coaches. Less time to get in trouble between after school and game time.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So, all right.
Okay. Thank you.
And I hope I can keep on finding Friday crews because I don't get the schedule until January. So I'll try to find football crews. They usually get contracted out like 5-10 years ahead in these conferences. And not getting your schedule till then, I at least got 3 out of 4 games for Friday. So hopefully that continues.
Okay. Steve Adams is here next.
Well, I was telling Hillary I'm glad I wasn't following group I followed last week, or last month, because they were just, wow. I've been asked to come here so we can continue our discussion that was begun last month about a possible bond issuance and sizing and the like. I've also provided a draft kind of timeline if you should decide to do something, you know, this evening, what it would look like and when it would be funded and all. So really, Hillary, I don't know, do you want to kind of talk about your thoughts on where things stand right now and the numbers you put together?
Sure. So we have 4 pages in front of you that Steve has provided. These are some repeats from last time, but I wanted to get them back out to you again. On the first page, if you look down at the boxes at the bottom where it has the 3 boxes, life safety proceeds, working cash, and total, if you look above that line, you'll see that there are 13 numbers listed. This is a 13-year repayment schedule. If you look down below, working cash proceeds, that's a $2.5 million working cash bond. So 13 years, $2.5 million. If you look at the second page, you can again see this is a 13-year issuance, and this is a $3 million bond. If you look at, along with the life safety, so the only thing that we're changing from page to page is both the length of the bond and the amount for the working cash. On page 3, you'll notice that that line goes 1 year further, so that's your 14-year example, backing up to $2.5 million. The fourth and last page with all the numbers on it, that would be a 14-year issuance with $3 million. As I said that I would, I talked to my finance coach, Randy Merker, who's a former superintendent from the area, who's now retired, living in Indiana, but he's hired through the ROE, our ROE, to be used as a finance coach, and we spoke for a long time. He couldn't be more pleased with the financial position of the district. He said you couldn't have written a story any better than where we are right now with having access to, I would say, the end of life of ESSER 3 grant money for FY24, and then going right into wind farm proceeds in FY25. It's ideal. When we go back and look at what happened with our overall tax rate last year, we didn't get wonderful estimates from our 3 counties. The good news is our land is worth a lot more than they anticipated it would be. So that's a good thing for us, but in terms of our tax rate, that dropped our tax rate. That was not something that we did intentionally. Taxpayers should like that, but like a finance coach would say, you're not going to get, or as Steve would say, you're not going to get any thank you notes for that, and that's true. I haven't gotten one yet. But so what actually happened last year is on a tax levy, you have to ask, your request is made in dollars. And so you take the dollar amount of what you think your EAV is, and you have to, for us, we have to ask 3 different counties what they expect that to be. You multiply it by that tax rate to get that dollar amount that you're asking for, your levy. And because our dollar amount of what our value, our estimate, our equalized assessed valuation went up so much, that caused our overall tax rate to drop down. So what happened was our tax rate went in 2021 from 5.26, it dropped down to 5.19. That's a great thing to be able to say, yes, taxpayers, we dropped your tax rate. So we want to make sure that in how we're promoting things, we let taxpayers know this has been a significant drop already. Randy's advice to me is that because we have those wind farms that are already generating income, drop it again. Drop it a little bit, drop it again to make sure that they know that because that's generating income, we're going to ask for an even lower rate this next time. Normally, he says, keep it the same. If it goes up a little bit, just say it's about the same. If it goes down a little bit, say it's about the same. Right now, he's recommending that we try to drop it and make sure that they know we dropped it quite a bit, we're going to drop it even more. But then his recommendation is to also say, just realize what's happening. Next year, it's going to go up. And we're going to tell you that in advance. It will go up next year, but we want to make sure that we can do this second year of a drop for you while we can. So then it goes back to Steve and I looking at some of these numbers. I can do a little bit more of what Randy is suggesting if we look at a 14-year repayment versus a 13-year repayment. I like the idea of the $3 million bond because I think things are always going to be a little bit more than what we anticipate. The track project is not the only project out there. We know that we want to do the Memorial Plaza. We know that we want to upgrade or rebuild, not sure which one, a concession restroom facility. There's going to have to be some kind of storage for track and field items, big mats and things like that. We have to be able to secure those and keep them safe. So we know that there will be other expenses. We do have a balance in our working cash fund that we can use, but the money will be used well for the track project. So what I am looking at is I have a spreadsheet that I use that I can throw some numbers in and kind of play around with different scenarios. Our EAV between 2020 and 2021 increased by 3.978%. Our EAV increased from 21 to 22 by 5.89%. That was the big jump that caught everybody off guard. That's why our tax rate dropped. With the increase from the county where the wind farm is of 39 million, if we anticipate that our increase this year of EAV would only be 3.5%, which is a very modest increase, I could get the tax rate to be 5.19, which would be exactly the same as it was last year. If our EAV increase would be 3.75, which I have every reason to believe that it could be, we can drop the tax rate by about a penny, 5.18. If we think that the EAV would increase by 4%, again, last year was 5.89, if we can reasonably expect the EAV to increase by 4%, the tax rate would drop to 5.17. So we could be dropping by 2 cents. That's with bonding the working cash for $3 million for 14 years. So I feel like we can abide by what the finance coach is advising and meet what we need for life safety, meet what would be a very nice amount for the track project, and hopefully maybe a little bit more of the track project than just the track itself, and be able to pay it off in 14 years using the proceeds that are coming from the wind farm and reduce the tax rate. Now, that doesn't reduce your taxes necessarily because your EAV is going up. If your home is worth more, celebrate that because someday you might want to sell it and you like that your home is worth more. So it's not necessarily your tax dollars going down, but it's the tax rate that we are able to decrease. So that's where Steve and I have kind of prepared, and our thinking is that 14-year and $3 million is what we would recommend.
And again, the scenario in front of you, when you're looking at just the bond and interest portion of your total levy is predicated on, after this year's sizable jump because of the wind farms, 2% after that, which will probably be higher. You're averaging a higher amount than that, but we thought to be conservative. So that's what's bringing it to the roughly 52 cents per bond and interest there. But if that number, again, goes higher, that rate will come down.
And why the 14 versus the 13?
The 14 years requires a little bit smaller payment back for bond and interest, which gives me a little bit more leeway in how much I can drop the tax rate overall.
Yeah, the 13 year is about a 55-cent bond and interest levy, where the 14 is about 52 cents. So, that's 3 cents on the entire EAV, so that adds up to significant dollars when you extrapolate it out.
So if we wanted to keep everything the same, 13 years would be fine. If we want to show the taxpayers that because we're dealing with the wind farms, if we see that as a negative, then we're showing you the positive is that we can lower your tax rate, then 14 years would be the way to go.
And none of this is taking into account the possible future additions of wind farms or whatever it is. So this is just as you stand right now, and just a modest year-over-year increase.
And Piatt County is looking at another wind farm. That's where Paige is tonight, they had a introductory meeting, and she is attending that. Steve, could I put you on the spot and ask you to talk about the other the timing of the other bonds and when they are at end of life compared to, because I know one of the things that we talked about last time was, so another health, life, safety issue is going to be, health, life, safety survey is going to be done in 10 years. So what happens when we have to, do another HLS bond 10 years from now? How do we look in terms of the other bonds that we'd be paying off in that time?
I thought that question might come up, so that's why I booted up the computer to make sure I've got the correct information. Now, as part of this, we're looking at what's known as refunding, or basically refinancing the 2013 bonds, because doing it by itself right now probably wouldn't, give you any savings. But doing it along with a new money issue, the costs are shared across all three issues. So there are economic savings to that, and we can restructure a little bit to get that 52 cents that we're talking about. So in the terms of your 2013 bonds that you've got outstanding, those would be, anything that's due after next year would be refinanced and would be part of this new issue done later this year. After that, you have your 2020 bonds. I want to make sure I've got the years right here. Now, those become callable in 2028. And we kind of went over what the call feature was and a little bit of that last month. But just as kind of a refresher, that's the time when you can, basically call the bonds in and either reissue them, or if, you're left with a bunch of money from somebody's will or estate or whatever it is, pay it off, whatever you can do, you can do it at that time. Now, you can do it prior to that, but if you do a new bond issue for restructuring purposes, let's say, based on current federal tax guidelines, they would have to be taxable bonds, so carry a higher interest rate. And there's really no economic sense to doing those. It's just if you have to create a little more room in your levy, you could do that prior to that call feature, but it would be on that taxable basis, where these are tax exempt as they were first issued. And then in your 2021 bonds, you have a call date of 12/1 of 2030. So roughly 9 years from when they were issued, 9 years. Is when the call features come in. And then there's the 21Bs that would be callable on 12/1 of 30. So you've got some flexibility in there to restructure should you need to add, more health, life, safety come your next, survey. You've got that flexibility in there to be able to make it to be whatever, who knows what tomorrow holds in terms of what the EAV is going to do versus what it's going to do to your tax rate. So you've got that flexibility in there to be able to at least adjust your bonds to get you to where you want to be it an overall number for your levy, or be it a levy rate. So you do have that flexibility in there.
Does anyone have questions or comments?
I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about a new track and everything. Is that really what we're sure we want to spend $3 million on, or is there a different way that we could better benefit our students? I mean, I know it'd be a nice facility, definitely a nice perk for the community. Is that the best way we can spend $3 million for our students? That's my question. I mean, I understand wanting to keep the, the tax basis up so you don't have to ask for it again. But if you're going to do that, are we really getting the most bang for our buck, or is there something else we could do for the kids? Because, I mean, having said it, what was it, 19 kids in track? I mean, and we got some good runners around here, strong ankles, thanks to the poor facilities. Man, I don't know. I guess that's the question I have is, are we doing the right thing?
Mm-hmm. And I would just say, knowing what I heard from strategic planning, I know that this is one of the, I would say, a long-standing goal definitely before I became superintendent, but I think it's and maybe even before I came to the district, I think that was one of the goals that was shared with me as I took this role, that was something that had been a strong desire of the community for a long time. It resurfaced again during strategic planning. It was pushed aside during COVID because there were other priorities and other concerns at that time. I've not had that question, quite honestly. I feel like we've done a tremendous job with upgrading curriculum, with updating processes and procedures, and really looking at our leaders as being instructional leaders and not just managers. I don't see that we're taking away from that by issuing the working cash bonds to also build that facility out there.
No, I don't think it'd take anything away from what's been done, but is it the right way to spend $3 million? I mean, what if we spent $3 million on state-of-the-arts arts programs, industrial arts, making sure these kids come out of here with a good grasp on their finances and how to run their life so they don't end up broke, or with a job so they don't have to go to college, or so they're ready for college. Sure, and I know that's part of the curriculum. I think it's really tailored towards that. But, I mean, the industrial arts, the agriculture, and I know we do a lot for that. I'm just saying, sports, the participation numbers that he just rattled off really weren't that fantastic. I know he's saying it's trending upwards, and I hope that continues. But we've got a bunch of kids here that all need a good education. And we've got a quarter of them are participating in sports. Are we doing everything we can for 99% of them, the most that we can do for the big chunk of them, or are we doing a track because it's an easy way to spend $3 million? That's what I'm wondering.
I hear the question. I feel like our operating budget is what supports the working of the instructional portion of what we're doing, the grant funding that we get, not just the ESSER money, which is coming and going, but the other funding that we use on a continuous basis is what supports those initiatives. But that's my perspective. I'd appreciate hearing from others. Can you speak?
Am I allowed to ask a question? So, I'm sorry, I was just wondering if this track is also not just for track, but is the band going to get more opportunities to have, maybe host a competition where we
That's our hope.
able to do that? The soccer's out on at South Park, and there's so many mosquitoes out there, I don't know if we would be allowed to play, I don't know if it feels is the right set. I'm just wondering if it's not just track people that could benefit from that.
Right.
Maybe the industrial arts project, something could be tied in. I don't know, I was just thinking, well, there's a lot of things that could probably use that, right? It's not
Right.
just
We're hoping that we can host band competitions for the first time. Football would be here, track would be here, soccer would be offered. We understand they might not want to move here, but they would be offered to move here. And yes, we're talking about our students perhaps being involved in some of the building projects that go on around the track as well.
I just wondered if that had played into the decision as well. Okay, thank you.
And I wanted just to note, just as something different, as a person, my hope at least would be that it would be a walking track for community members to come and walk. I don't live in Farmer City, I live in Bellflower, but we have a lot of people that love to walk. And I would think here in town, it could be used a lot. I know that when those are offered to community members in other towns, people do go because it's a flat surface. They know this many laps is a mile, and for people that like to do that. So, I mean, that would also be the goal. Obviously, we want everyone to take care of it, but it's a community option.
And for the junior high to use as well. Yeah.
And I had another question too. Are we unable to host band events because the track is not all weather? Or could we do that currently?
I believe we could, but it's the lack of a good enough facility, a band competition. I mean, if you were in band, normally they're at
That's
larger schools or state, universities where you have capacity for that large of a crowd.
And the
for bands
restrooms
that are
and-
bringing in
Yeah.
hundreds of students and hundreds of fans, et cetera. I think a modern facility provides better for that. I will say that unfortunately, the participation numbers that we were given, they reflect our school size. I mean, All you have to do is go out in that hall and look about the time you and I both graduated and look at the most current composite pictures. Our numbers are dwindling. That is unfortunate, but I think part of a strategic goal with this is if we can offer a state-of-the-art facility and a growing school, it would help our school to grow. We fortunately live in the middle of two large cities, which large cities have problems of their own, and people leave them with great regularity. I know of families that leave the Urbana School District on the regular all the time. If we have a school that has facilities to offer those students a good future in football, track, in addition to the fact that we do have a good core curriculum here, it is getting better. I'm biased, my wife's a teacher, you know that, but we have a lot of things going our way, and I would like to see a facility that could help to grow our school district.
I think a lot of this is all good topics. I'd like to see if we had a better way to field this to the community other than the long-term planning group. If there isn't a way that we can actually put this out there and see what people are thinking. I have no idea what that would be. I agree with both Sig and Jonathan on both their points. I feel like it's odd that we would spend $3 million over 14 years for an extracurricular activity when we're still trying to put welding bays together, you know, as for our industrial arts. I don't know that there's a good answer for this, but I'd like to know more of what the public thinks as far as, I don't know if we could get a more general population vote on that, and I don't know how you do that.
I think it's always,
You have the
to
one that you
hold
have to
it.
hold, maybe.
okay. I agree. I mean, I think it's always beneficial to survey, you know, if you can survey the community. I do think tangibly, I think when you look, when I'm going around to other schools, that's the one thing that really sticks out like a sore thumb, right? Like we don't have that and everybody else has that. And I think it's more than just track, right? I mean, I think we've said it's football, it's band, it's the community, it's how we feel about our school. We have the facilities and we're not going around to other schools and saying, oh, they've got this and we don't have that. But I do think it'd be helpful to hear from other people, to hear from the community if we could potentially survey and get, you know, perspectives on it. I don't know how best to do that. I'd have to process that a little bit more, but I think that would be beneficial. But I would like to see us have an updated track. I think we do need that.
And I also am a huge fan of track. That's what I did in high school, and I encourage my kids to do it. It's just it's a big ticket item for an extracurricular that I know it's more than just track. It is football, and it affects the band because the field is redone as well, and there's a lot going into it. I'd just like to know more about what the public's thinking on it.
There's no way you have no thoughts. So what is timing like if we're obviously not ready to make a decision tonight? Is there any certain deadlines we need to meet, or how does that work also?
No, there are no certain deadlines. You always just risk, you know, there's always that interest rate risk
Right.
of rates going up, and then, you know, you wait and, you know, but there's also, you know, they could go down. You know, I don't have that crystal ball, unfortunately. But besides that, really, there's no timing issues that you have to be doing it by X date, or it's gone forever. It's not like the ESSER funds. You know, you have to have that nailed down by that certain date, or else the money goes away. That's not the case here. So,
Okay.
in a nutshell, no.
Okay.
There is one thing. We have HLS projects that need to get done. And if we're going to do a bond issue, it does make sense. If we're going to do working cash bonds, it does make sense to do them both at the same time. Our HLS bonds can't wait indefinitely because we're on a time clock already with HLS. We do have a building that you're sitting in right now. When those chillers go for the last time, which could be any time, then people are going to be pretty upset because I don't know that we can fix them one more time. And that's going to be quite costly. So there is a little bit of push behind there, but I don't want to push to make you make a decision that you're not ready for.
I'd say, I apologize, I was just concerning the working
Yeah.
cash focus and
Yeah.
not the HLS when I answered
Yeah.
the question.
So I don't know if we have an agreement. If we decide, if we surveyed the community and we heard from the community and they're, on the fence, then there's one thing. If we heard from the community and it's an overwhelming, yes, we want to move forward with this, I guess the next question would be, can we say if we get an overwhelming yes, that we would be agreeable to 14-year, $3 million? Can we agree with the term and the price and then just figure out if it's a yes or no after the fact? That's a little bit backwards, but, okay.
That's a reasonable thing to do if we can, I don't know how we're going to get the information out of the community. That's
Yeah,
that's the big,
It's definitely a little more
question.
complex than just a yes or no, and I'm sitting here in my mind, we do way too many surveys at my work, and it's not just a cut and dry survey, in my opinion, because there's a lot of information to understand of like how this is kind of working out. Obviously the survey would need to say, man, people in McLean County are awesome because we have given you a wind farm that gives you this extra money. It doesn't impact all of you unless you live up there with us. And helping people understand that
Yeah.
is, real life. I don't want to say that people don't know, but I bet there's some people in Farmer City that don't realize that we have that. Like, not everyone comes to Bellflower and realizes that we do. So helping them understand, this is not meaning your taxes are going up. That's not what this means.
no, just say in there real clearly that this wouldn't cause an increase in your taxes,
Well,
but we'd be having this. No, and then
but
on
we
the
have to
other
be
side, you
careful
could-
because your tax dollars might go up, your tax rate
Oh, yeah,
will not go
your
up.
tax
And
rate
that's,
won't be increasing.
but
And
people.
that's hard for people to understand
Yeah.
that part too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, the alternative would be to put in there what their tax rate could decrease to if you didn't bond an additional $3 million. But, I don't know. I don't know if you want to put that out there. It might get a lot more votes.
I'm feeling a video coming on.
Yeah, I mean,
I was going to just add, would it be helpful to provide some sort of informational session, whether it's through a video, but is that accessible to everybody? Could it be a video and could it be at the next Connect or however we do that?
Yeah.
I don't know, but.
Yeah.
And how do we really make sure that people watch it? Because that's what's going to happen is they're going to be like, "Meh," and then
They
you're
don't
gonna hear
watch
about
everything I send out or read everything I send out,
it.
see?
Heck, no.
Well, that's why I was referencing, I've been in districts before, and it's, you talk about the participation in the sport. It's getting people to actually sit down and answer the questions.
yeah,
Because, as we all know, people are just busy as can be nowadays.
Yeah.
And
survey responses are tough.
very much so. Unless you have a strong feeling one way or
Yes,
another.
and that's what I was about to say, you're going to get this strong,
You get the outliers,
You-
one way or the other.
Not that
but
middle.
Not the core group, I guess you
Yeah.
could call it.
I think the best that we can do is put a good faith effort into it and do the best that we can to put the word out there so that people who have that opinion can actually share it. Because the ones who aren't going to pay attention as much, I don't know how we reach them with the other stuff that we need to reach them for, so.
Jason, you brought up welding. Have we even gotten a price on that? Has anybody ever brought anything? Do you have that?
For the $15,000 donation from Invenergy, we can put 3 welding booths together. We're waiting for the other parts of that. waiting for details on our end, but.
So yeah,
we
we're
can
not
put
talking
3.
about $100,000. I mean, we have that in our working cash. We have the funds to
We
do
have
that
that
kind of
donation.
stuff. Yeah.
We're
So-
waiting to make it happen.
I mean, I'm for the track only as a visual thing. When you come to a community and you're looking, you have a brand new pool over there. You drive by and the school facilities are horrible. They don't care, they don't know yet about your curriculum, but they drive by and they're like, next. They do that in town. You hear about it in town. Dilapidated houses, people not mowing the yards. That's the first impression that you're going to get. If you want to grow the district, you have to clean the district up. You know, we're putting windows, we're repaving stuff, I mean, it's just part of it. We have a track and sports facility that needs replaced. Eventually, it's going to have to get replaced. I mean, we've kicked the can for so long. Now it's going to cost a ton. So how much longer do we keep doing that? I mean, that's my whole thing. Eventually you have to do it. Or you just don't offer any sports. Because that's what it's going to come down to. Your facility's going to go to a point where you're done. I mean, you just run around the block, I guess. But
They kind of do that now, I think.
I mean, that's where I'm at with it. But I also completely agree that it has to be a two-way street. The kids have to start participating in stuff. I mean, ag program's huge. We need to make sure we take care of that. There's a lot of users in that. Industrial arts, there's a lot of users in that. That is our,
Flagship.
yeah, I mean, it kind of is. We pride ourselves on that stuff. So we need to make sure we take care of that as well. But they haven't asked for a $3 million project, so that's my opinion on it.
And unfortunately, when we, as just individuals and thinking about budgets, I mean, 3 million is a huge number for sure, but unfortunately, projects like this, I mean, it's just a very typical number. I don't know off the top of my head, and someone here may, I know Monticello just redid their football area. It was over, because they put in turf, they put in, and not that I don't think ours will be, compared to what we have, it will be state-of-the-art, but it's not going to be a Taj Mahal of track and football fields. Those exist in the area. I definitely would feel less comfortable saying, oh, we should have the, everything at the very tip top, cost and all of that. I mean, I think that we can be reasonable with it and have a very nice option for, yes, the track, yes, when we host different events, yes, when the JFL program that's helping grow our football, when they have different people come to town and they use that, it's a better facility for that to use. Maybe even Schneider, I know they've done different things over the years where the kids like walk laps and things. So then when they have people come out to do that, the kids will actually there would be a track that they would walk their laps on and not the cinders or, it is just bad. In my mind, it would be about so much more than just the track team. But maybe that's just like my visual on it, and just from hearing different people, many, not even people with like current students, they have like grandkids or great nieces and nephews that have come to the different strategic planning, that have come to the Blue Ridge Connects. There was one in Mansfield several years back prior to COVID, and there was quite a crowd of people there that just wanted to talk about this memorial wall, redoing the track, those kind of things. A lot of people felt connected to that idea of having the Memorial Plaza and being able to, their own connection to that. There was talks of a person could, purchase a brick, and there were a lot of people that just felt very strongly about that. Do I wish that our small town could just fundraise that kind of money? Yeah, that would be great. But we are a district that has a higher percentage of free and reduced lunch, and that impacts that when you have families that are just trying to get through the week, than to say, hey, could you give us a big donation or something? It makes it tough. And so when we compare ourselves to some of the other towns, that's part of that too. there's some people that have very deep pockets. So, I don't know, it's a tough one.
I do have a meeting with several people in the community. Nancy McCartney is one of them. She organized a meeting about the Memorial Plaza. Wanted to come in and meet with me, make sure that I was aware of where the stone was. And so it's alive, and I mean, she said, we're getting older, we want to make sure that we have our information shared. So.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part. The group that really was trying to work on that, these are not young. It was not. It wasn't like, hey, it's because I want this just for my kid. It's like it's people that truly still wanted to feel that connection with the district. All the people that approached, they weren't young parents.
See, that might be, when you talk about the free and reduced lunch program, maybe we're not targeting the right individuals when we're doing fundraising. Maybe we need to be asking those individuals that are so interested in it, to be soliciting their friends.
And they have. There's a group, like I said, there is this group that has done that, but when you're looking at, the dollar amount that these projects cost in today's world, it's not a $100,000 project.
Yeah. Fundraising for the plaza is now more likely than fundraising for the track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like they just knew they couldn't do all those other pieces of it. So, and you wouldn't want to put up a Memorial Plaza wall to a cinder track. There's definitely a piece of it that comes from our end of it. Like, I mean, the Memorial Plaza would look really great, but then that would be pretty rough, for sure.
If I created a video that was
A TikTok.
short, yeah, if I created a succinct explanation, because a lot of the finance stuff is absolutely unknown. School finance is very different from, personal finance. But if I was able to come up with a succinct way to share the message in a video format and to push that out, and I don't know, I mean, like you said, a survey could be very, very tough to word the correct way, but if I could come up with a video message and a survey, I would say a video message and offer a night where people could come in and have conversation and
I like
listen
that
to
idea.
that. Might even have to call a special board meeting because I'd love to have, your support there. And then, perhaps have a survey available that night or push it out. I don't know if you want to, I don't want to just limit it to the people that can come, but I think if we know that they've heard the explanation, I feel much more comfortable with those people answering the survey, but I guess you push it out to everybody. Do you think if we can do that in the next month, knowing that the August board meeting is early because of the sake of the budget, it's on August 9th, if we can accomplish that before August 9th, if that's even possible, could we plan to then try to look at the results and hopefully have a decision by then? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's.
And I think that you need the survey link that gets pushed out for people that weren't in attendance. I think it would be really cool to attach the video with that.
Yeah. Too bad I couldn't get the link to be only available at the end of the video. I'm not that clever and I'm not sure if that would work, but Dave might be able to figure that out.
There's an awful lot of trainings that you have to spend so long on the video before you're allowed to take the
Yeah,
test.
there's gotta be an
So,
easy way to
just
do
throwing
that.
that out there.
Yeah. And if you go through it too fast, like if you fast forward, you're not allowed to take the, might be above me, but we'll try to figure that out. Yeah. Well, thank you, Steve, for
No, not a problem.
your patience with us.
Does anyone have any other questions that Steve could answer or to understand anything?
Out of curiosity, you guys are all going to frown at me for this one. What would the rate be without the additional $3 million in bonding? How much would it decrease by?
It wouldn't, if it still stayed at the 14 years, it'd still be the same rate.
No. Even though it would only be $2.5 million in the HLS stuff?
It's based on.
I
the
see.
length of time,
So it'd be
not
half
the amount.
I got you.
So, I mean, it'd be reduced by the principal and interest portion of that amount of money, but rate-wise.
You would try to keep the rate the same. I got you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, next we have communications. First is the FOIA request.
Alrighty, so FOIA requests, Smart Procure, purchase records. This is a kind of a repeat regular thing for us from March 22 through 6/20 that was returned on time. Prairie State Wire asked for information on you, board members, name, first date of service, appointed versus elected. They also asked for date of birth and address, and we said no thank you to that because that was personal information. Not listed here, but just so you know, Prairie State Wire also asked right after the board packet came out, they asked for another very complex set of information about substitutes over the last 5 years. So that's been answered, but you'll see that on your August board meeting.
Okay, then we have committee reports.
There are none.
Easy. And then administrative report.
That would be me. So right now, my focus has been on preparing for our administrative retreat, which is a week from this coming Monday, July 31st. We will be off-site. We will talk about the upcoming school year, our vision for the school year. Of course, I'm working heavily on the budget right now, and actually still closing out FY23 while getting ready for FY24. And a lot of the activities that are coming up are going to be started, most of them, before we meet again, even though our August meeting is early. So summer school starts on Monday. So July 24, we're bringing in kids from kindergarten through high schoolers and kindergarten jumpstart. So we have 2 weeks of summer school, Monday through Thursday mornings. And just as a reminder, we have U of I Extension 4-H is going to be a component for all of that, except for the 9th graders going to the math classes. So I'm excited about that. So they're going to have some personalized iReady, meaning math and ELA work. That's their own learning path, plus some of the exciting activities from U of I Extension, and those are kind of grade-banded activities, so different things for different age levels. And then the kindergarten jumpstart, that's what we've done for the last couple of years. It's 4 days long, but each of the littles will be invited for a 2-day session. So some will come Monday, Tuesday, others Wednesday, Thursday, and that really lets them get a little bit of the lay of the land before they come in for real while everybody else is coming in. So that's nice. And then first night, we rotate things. Last year, Farmer City went first. That's the ideal night to have because that's after curriculum night, so that means you get to rest after Institute Day if you're a teacher. So this year we rotate. Mansfield goes first for first night, which means Monday, August 14th. Happy birthday to me. And then Farmer City will go second, being on Tuesday, August 15th. So those are the things from my report. Next, you'll have your quarterly financial report. What you have in your board packet online has been updated, so please turn to what you have in front of you on paper. And my ink colors are a little bit off, but I do want to, let's see, bring your attention to the column D, that's supposed to be in green right there, our audited fund balances from just over a year ago, June 30th of 2022. If you look all the way down to the bottom of column D, we were at a balance of 8.7 million. And then what we do is we look at columns E and F right now at the end of a fiscal year, where we anticipated having, at the very bottom of column E, we were estimating about $12 million coming in as revenues. Column F shows an actual revenue of 15.4 million coming in. Again, there's some differences with grants, and there's also some early tax money that was coming in to make a difference right there. If you look in column G, you'll see those percentages being over 100%. That's reflected in what we just talked about in columns E and F. A little bit more of a variance down in the closed funds down below, 30, 50, 60, and 80, and 90, mostly because those numbers are a little bit smaller, so you're going to see a greater variance. I looked then at column H, approved expenditures from the budget. We thought that we were going to spend about 12.6 million, and we always overestimate those expenditures. If any fund, if you spend literally $1 over anything that you estimate in any one of your 9 buckets, they call it, or 9 funds, then you have to amend your budget. So we always try to make sure that we're estimating over. So actual expenditures would be in column I, and overall we spent 11.5 million. But what I have to watch out very carefully for, we have to know by May what we think will happen by the end of June. So very important for me to know that all of our I column numbers were less than our H column numbers. Let's see. And then we look in column J, you can see the percentages there. You'll note, line 20, bond and interest, we're right on the mark there. That's because we know exactly what our bond and interest payment's going to be. We're way off in health and life safety. That's because you have to estimate this, a year in advance. We didn't know when HLS was going to be approved and when we were going to start spending money there. So we just guessed that we were going to spend it just in case, because you never want to go under. Only at the end of a fiscal year do I include those columns outside of the lines way over on the right. This is really an estimate, but in that first column that's outside the lines, which would have been right after L, that's our estimated how we did, our over and under. So you can see that only line 10, transportation, we're always behind there. We don't get the reimbursement from the state that we would like to have, that we think we deserve. So we're a little bit behind there. If you go down to the closed funds at the bottom, a little bit behind the balance that we expected, or a little bit of a deficit, I should say, in site and construction, which is Fund 60, and again in Fund 80 for tort. We knew that we were going to be spending that down a little bit. But really nice news in the very final column, estimated fund balance. Very nice balance down there at the bottom of 12.7. Okay, so you'll see that we had a very, very nice year. This year, I've told people as we were having budgeting meetings, this is our year to be lean. We've added some positions. We added third grade this year. We've added an accounts payable part-time person. We've added the position at the intermediate junior high. We do have the grant funding of ESSER 3. We don't know how much exactly is left yet. State hasn't told us. We anticipate it's less than 400,000. But again, that we're going to be walking into the wind farm budget in FY25. So like the finance coach said, wow, people would be very pleased to see information like this for their budget. So any questions that you have for me? Okay.
So then where we've had like additional monies already come in for the grand total, when you look in column F, will some of that kind of offset it for like tax money that came in that's actually FY24 money?
Yeah, so when I go and do my budget this year, I'm going to work to tease out, looking at the dates to see exactly what year's money it was and try to say exactly how much of that. Sometimes we don't know exactly when those counties are going to pay us, but if somebody has paid us early, then I'm not going to count that in my revenue, but I can control it more at the beginning of the year than I can at the end of the year. So,
because I just know with so many of them being over 100%, that way it's not the confusion of that's really next year's money, but we have a little bit of it now.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
I will say your O&M report, as you're getting ready to go, your O&M report is by paper as it came in after the date.
Okay. Okay, so you have all the other reports in your packet to look. Up next, we have the approval of consent items. And if there are no questions on that or discussion, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items listed on attachment A as presented. Rusty? Second. Kenna?
Chelsea Buckland, Jonathan Gable. Jason Nolan.
Oops.
Kenna Johnson. Yes. Sabinger. Rusty Ward.
Yes.
Francie Miller.
Yes. Okay, next we have old business, review of petition for detachment.
Okay, for those who have been on the board previously, before the recent election, you know that we were approached by a physician/attorney about a potential petition for detachment from a family that is on the border between Blue Ridge and Leroy School District. So that petition actually has arrived to ROE 17, and they are requesting to annex approximately 2 acres of their entire farm land asking for their children to be able to attend the Leroy School District. So that would be a loss of property tax revenue because they would be in the Leroy District. At the time that this was presented to the board, the question for us was, if this would come to the ROE and we would be notified, we would be asked the question, are you going to basically say that you would argue against that? And the board's position at that time, which was within maybe the last 12 months or so, was that as long as it was the 2 acres, we would not contest that at all. So this is just you being able to see what the ROE has received so far. And there's nothing for you to do now other than to just be aware. Thought the read was a little bit interesting.
It is interesting, based on our earlier conversation, that there is a comment in their thing about the athletic opportunities offered, so.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have any comments or questions? Okay. Next we have then, there's nothing for us to do on this at that time, or this time. So next we have new business is the approval of the FY22 single audit.
Okay, so this is my first experience with having a single audit. The reason for the single audit is when the district receives or spends over $750,000 in federal funds. This is something that is coming up in many districts right now because of the ESSER funding that's coming through. So if you remember, our annual financial report was quite late this year. Auditors across the country, I assume, we know at least across the state, are overwhelmed and have missed many deadlines, and then they have all this extra work to do with the single audit. So we received our single audit recently. We did have one finding in the single audit, which means one thing that we need to correct. And what that was when we purchase property with federal funds, we did not we didn't record the date of purchase and the serial numbers. So our property included our ViewSonic boards, the sneeze guard over at Snyder Cafeteria, and the dishwasher. So we have a program called Asset Tiger that we use with our technology department to track all of our technology items. And so we are going to use that to track our sneeze guard and our dishwasher, and ViewSonic boards are already being tracked that way. So we have to make sure that date of purchase, like our ViewSonic boards have serial numbers recorded, but they don't have necessarily date of purchase. So we'll make sure that we add those items, minus probably a serial number for a sneeze guard. I don't know that exists. But
I do have a question. What is the dollar amount of an item that has to be put on the, kept track of? Like
capital items, so over 500 each.
Over 500 each?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about O&M, and I know that's something that's been mentioned in the past. I wasn't sure if, can those be tracked in there too, in that same program, since it's already being used?
Could we track those items? Yes, that's a possibility.
Okay.
I would think. Yeah, we used to use a system called Destiny, and library tracks their items using Destiny, and the tech department has recently gone to Asset Tiger. That's something that works better for them. So I know that they told me we could track what I was looking for. I haven't asked them about tools and things, but I'm sure we could look into that. We have actually put, I don't know how to say it properly. I think Dave calls it air tags on our ladders. Is that the right? Yeah. Yeah. Ladders have been walking away. Like they go to different places. There's a lot of projects going on that need ladders, and sometimes they disappear, so we're trying to put air tags on them. So maybe that would kind of coincide with the Asset Tiger. Yeah. So this would take your approval to accept the audit.
So I need a motion and a second to approve the 2021-2022 single audit for Blue Ridge CUSD 18, conducted by Mose, Iaki, Brown, and Cull, Shelbyville, Illinois, as presented. Jonathan? Sid? Yes. All right, next we have the annual approval for financial institutions.
And this is just annual routine saying that we're going to use the same banks that we have before.
Okay, so I need a motion and a second to approve Heartland Bank Farmer City and First Mid Bank Mansfield as depositories for the Blue Ridge CUSD 18 funds for the 2023-2024 school year as presented.
Jason Nolan? Yes. Dave Ingram? Yes. Hannah Johnson? Yes. Rusty Willen?
Yes.
Chelsea Levelman? Jonathan Nagel?
Yes.
Francie Miller?
Yes. Okay, next we have the adopt the fiscal year July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, and continue all policies, contracts, and programs in force.
Again, routine, what Francie just said, continue everything that we have been doing to the new fiscal year.
Any questions? Okay, so if not, I need a motion and a second to adopt the fiscal year for Blue Ridge CUSD 18 to be from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, and to continue all policies, contracts, and programs currently in force on June 30th, 2023 as presented.
Motion.
Rusty and Sig.
Dave Ingram? Yes. Hannah Johnson? Yes. Rusty Willen?
Yes.
Chelsea Levelman? Jonathan Nagel?
Yes.
Jason Nolan? Yes. Francie Miller?
Yes. Okay. Next, we have the Press 112 first reading. Looked very short this time.
It doesn't look like it when you see it printed out like that, but it was short. Yeah, it was, yes. 111 was a bear compared to 112. So Chelsea isn't here tonight, but she had responded back to me that she was good with everything. So Jonathan and Kenna, do you have any comments or questions on anything that you read through? No? Okay.
No.
Nothing too significant there. Actually, a lot of it was exhibits and administrative procedures, which are just kind of helpful documents, and many of the others were just simply 5-year reviews. What I will note is that in Policy 6120, notice to parents, guardians regarding Section 504 rights, reading through that, it was something that I do a lot of cross-checking when I'm reading through the press packet for the first time, and it caused me to go back to our 3 building handbooks, and I looked and didn't find consistent language between the 3 handbooks about 504 policies. So you have already approved handbooks for next year, but they haven't gone out too far. So I've asked the principals we decided on what language was going to be used, and they are all putting the same language in their handbooks. So I thought it was timely that we got that all in there in anticipation that this would be approved next month.
Okay. All right, and next we have the study of employee years of service.
Okay, let me get to 373. So, just a little backstory on this. So we are in an employee's world right now, not an employer's world with hiring. It's very difficult to find a good number of candidates for positions. We're talking drivers to custodians to teachers to paraprofessionals to kind of anything. And schools are no different. I know, we're not special, but it's a concern of ours in the district to be able to fill positions. And so we have this summer, as you've noticed, had some teachers that have joined our workforce that have come in with a significant number of years of experience. Our contract currently states that we cap people at 7 years of experience. It's kind of funny that education does that. A lot of other places don't do anything like that. We can ask, in the contract it also says that I can ask the board to give more than 7 years of experience. I have come to ask you for that, not to give full credit, but to give more than 7 to people, and you have been very gracious with that and understanding, knowing that we've got to have people in teachers' roles. At the same time, you've said, please do something to figure out how we can make this right and how we can make this equitable, and I absolutely agree. In working with other superintendents and looking at contracts and how they do this, I can't find anybody who has in their contract that they cap people at 7 years. I think it's antiquated language. Mahomet made that switch a ways back, and the way they did that was they opened their contract for negotiations, and they said, from this point forward, we're going to put you at the right number of years of experience. We are not going to go back and do any kind of retro pay, but we're going to make you right going forward. I do believe that that is the right thing for us to do, because now we're at a place where we're uneven. It's not balanced. I know of an example of at least one teacher here in this building that was hired pre-COVID, who was docked, I would say, a good chunk of years when that teacher came in. And now the word is out that some people are getting more years than others are. And I don't, just doesn't feel right. And we even had an exit interview that was completed over the last 10 days, I would say, and somebody mentioned that. We know that that's happening. So I think it's perfect timing for us to do that study. I think there's a lot more that's going to go into that than I can even anticipate right now, to be honest. Private school versus public school. How many days do I have to work in a year to make it considered a full year? Our contract says 100 days, so it can't just be one semester to get credit for a full year. To be honest, it would be a lot of work to go through everybody's file in the office to figure out exactly, because those files can be an inch thick and you're digging through a lot of work. I think it would be easier for us to say, okay, teacher, I come to you, you show me your TRS, your teacher retirement system report, and prove your number of years. And then to do a cross-check to see where they are on the scale. It's going to take some time, and there's not extra of that, but over, the next months, I think it would be wise for us to do that, and then see what if we did that in the 24-25 school year, what is that big jump? I know it's not a one-year commitment, but what is that first jump that it would take, so we have that information to consider. I have mentioned that to the union president. At the same time, I also mentioned, I want you to understand that my hands are absolutely tied right now with our PSRP rates, and the fact that during negotiations we were held to the same percentage for certified and non-certified, and that is absolutely hurting us right now. So I'd like to think that, we can have some discussion about that, because we have to fill those spots, and right now we're not attractive on the PSRP scales. So not that had to be a motion, but I felt like it's a big topic, it's a big thing, so I felt like I would bring it to you to see if you want me to walk down that path.
Any comments or thoughts?
Great. How long ago was that, if I could ask? Okay. Okay.
Kind of, I think it's the right thing to do too. But if it's a significant increase in our, budget, how do you go after allocating that money or acquiring that money?
Well, again, what happens with that wind farm EAV when that comes
Yeah.
in, that makes a significant,
So that should help.
right, our Fund 10,
Yeah,
3.6%
sweet,
with that increase is going to be the way that would be covered.
fabulous.
When you're looking at this, and I know this would not be on the same motion or anything like that, is there a possibility to start gathering PSRP information from other districts to see how far behind we are?
Actually, Jen White is doing that.
Fantastic.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. If not, I need a motion and a second to approve the superintendent to begin a study of the years of service of the current Blue Ridge CUSD 18 certified staff as presented.
So moved.
Oh, Kenna? Jonathan?
Hannah Johnson?
Yes.
Rusty Wolf?
Yes.
Chelsea McCollum? Jonathan Hazel?
Yes.
Jason Nolan?
Yes.
Sig Ingram?
Yes.
Francie Miller?
Yes. Okay. And next, we have the approval to proceed with proposal from Alpha Controls at BRI-JHS.
Okay. So currently we use Alpha Controls for our electric controls in 2 of our buildings, Snyder and the high school. They used to control over at Mansfield. That was changed to Tacon. We're not getting great service from them, and we're not able to do remote things right now for that building. So if there is a need to change temperatures over there, it has to be done in the building. And we're not able to adjust things for weekend settings, vacation settings, things like that. Alpha Controls is coming to us and proposing a cost to do that switch over to Alpha Controls. It seems like this is the perfect time to do something like that. All of our buildings would be controlled by the same company. They give excellent service to our Farmer City campus currently. And while the whole network refresh is underway, this would be the time to do it. So we're not setting up in one way and then having to undo the work that was just done by the tech department to set up for a different company to come in. So there was an alternate quote on here for software upgrade. That's not something that we need or would be interested in. So we're asking if we can proceed with the regular bid here.
Okay, does anyone have any comments or questions? Okay, if not, I need a motion and a second to approve the base bid proposal for the Alpha Control System upgrade at BRI-JHS as presented. So moved. Rusty? Second. Jonathan?
Rusty Woolen?
Yes.
Chelsea Lockwood? Jonathan Gable?
Yes.
Jason Nolan?
Yes.
Zay Ginker? Yes. Hannah Johnson? Yes. Nancy Miller?
Yes. Okay, now we're ready for closed session.
Do you want to move go to the cause?
Oh, we are going to do that. Sorry. If everyone's okay with that, we're going to move good of the cause up to now. That way,
No.
that way Emily Weiler does not have to go sit in the hallway while we do closed session real quick. So we're just going to scoot you right up. I mean, you've been so gracious waiting this whole time.
It's hard to keep my mouth closed some of the times, and we all have ideas. Okay, so thank you for your time. Thank you for bumping me up. I'm Emily Weiler. If I haven't met you, I'm Fine Arts at Schneider. I do both the art and the music for K-3, and currently I do music for 4-6. Last year we kind of switched that out because of the structures and the inability to find people who will want to do these jobs. So I have an idea for painting the playground fence. If you've been back on Schneider's playground, it's a little lacking. It's in the 4 years, this is my 5th year starting here at Schneider, I've not seen it updated at all. So one of my ideas from a couple years ago that I'm just now getting around to because everybody is extremely busy is having a community night to come paint that Schneider fence. And so I think in the packet, Dr. Sandifer took care of me and Christy took care of me and showed you the pictures. So there should be some pictures on there about the disrepair and things, and we don't want that anymore. So I went out and I measured and I came up with some ideas, and one of the things we're really trying to do at Schneider is teaching the kindness aspect and how we can be kind to each other. So I thought maybe a phrase that we could paint big on, I would paint big on the fence, would be in a world where you can be anything, be kind. Miss Clayton, our school counselor, does a fabulous job working with all of the students, and she was like, oh yeah, that's a perfect thing. I asked her some ideas. And it wouldn't be exactly like that picture in there, because it never is, but it would be something like that, because butterflies are a great thing for art, butterflies are a great thing for music, and so I just thought that would be really cool, because we grow and we change, just like the butterflies grow and change. So lots of meanings in that, and if you really want to talk about it, I would be happy to, because I could talk for a long time, but I won't, because you have a closed session. So I've been talking with Dr. Sandifer, and she said that the base paint for the project cost would come out of the operations and maintenance, and I really appreciate that. Then all the other fancy things would come out of my art budget. fancy colors and tones and tints and things. I have talked with Mr. Berkman. He is going to replace the slats that have wear and tear and are broken, so that's very helpful. He has a pressure washer that I will get to learn how to use. But we're hoping for sometime in September to have parents come in and have like a whole art night where we get the high school students to maybe lead some stations outside on the playground, chalk art, and I think, let's see what else I kind of threw out there, get my bifocals going here. Face painting, using the other supplies that we use, like oil pastels, clay, rock painting. I've done a rock painting project the first year that I was here. And then also, have snacks, because food brings people in. And then so that would be the interior of the fence. And then the exterior of the fence, I have an email out with Joe Ramirez. We're talking about how to get the high school students in to help design an idea for that. And so there were a couple different styles that I think are really cool, we can discuss, but to get some nice artwork in there and get the high school kids involved, because when we look at our mission, embrace, engage, equip, empower, this one hits all 4 of them. And supporting each other, seeing that it's not just one person that makes the school better, it's everybody, gets the families to come in, involved with the kids love showing off their art skills and things. And so I just think that it's a really good way to get some community in. So I'm looking to have that set up for September, so you will all get an invitation to come and help paint butterflies and flowers on the fence if you would so like to do, because then years from now you can look at it and go, oh, I made that one when I was on the board. So I think that's all the big things that I had. Any ideas? Oh, no, not all of them. The barns are part of the pre-K program. I will also involve them because they have a whole different system. I don't teach any of the pre-K stuff, so I would have to talk to Mrs. Bodie and Mrs. Brock and see what kind of input they would want. So I don't have a design for that one yet because I kind of wanted pre-K to be able to say, hey, yeah, this is our school too, because sometimes they don't quite see that. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, questions now.
Any thoughts or questions by anyone? Yeah.
I don't have any questions, but I think it's a great idea and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
One question.
Oh, no. Fire away.
Why would you not ask us to buy the paint instead of it coming out of your budget?
Because I thought I would get a better chance of getting permission to do the fence if I said, you do this, I'll do that. I mean, I will happily say, hey, can this all come out of the operating expense?
So, I mean, but you're talking, what, $100?
Oh, for like 2 gallons or.
Well, for you,
2 gallons, and that's what it'll take, at least for the base coat on both sides.
yeah, but it says then using the art budget, I would purchase 8 quarts each, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, whatever, black.
Yeah, the $100 and then another.
33.
Black, so yeah.
So $133 would come out of your budget?
Yeah. Probably.
I mean, I don't know why we don't pick that up. It's a maintenance cost that needed, if you look at the pictures.
I'll make sure there's enough in her budget.
Okay.
Yeah, she's good.
Well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be, Rosie. I appreciate that. Yeah, so the other costs, I was just like, well, I have the metal roller things, we would just need some new rollers, and then I have so many paintbrushes already, so we wouldn't need those. The stencils that I was thinking, so that everybody gets the right size stuff. I have so much in my art room, if you come and look, you'll get lost. I don't know if that's good or bad, but the paint was the big, expense that I could think of.
I think my only question is, and this is from a girl who is finishing up a staining project of my fence that I get to do, every 5 years,
Yes, uh-huh.
and it's amazing. But what about the upkeep on it? Is there a way that, like, there's a group that could maybe
That's a great question.
take that on to say, hey, because, weather happens, those kind of things. Is there a way to say, here's the paints that were used, we have these set back, come in once, and again, I'm throwing out things. I'm sure the only person watching is my brother, Jonathan. You didn't have your microphone on one time, so I got a text about that. He's like, the guy next to Rusty. See, Chris, I told him. So he's watching. But my thought is, you know, is there like, I'm just throwing this group out there, so if they're listening, I'm not meaning that, you know, like Key Club or
Right.
something like that. Like, could that be that they take that on and they do the little touch-ups each year or every couple years, or?
I had not considered that, but I will definitely. put
Because
that
I
in
definitely
my
think it would
thoughts.
look amazing, and especially for the
Yeah.
little kids. I love the saying. I actually have that in my grandson's toy room at my house. That's what we have up. So I'm like, I think that's a great saying. But I don't want it to, like, in 2 years start to look bad, because then it's not a point of pride. Whereas I'm like, you know. The art club, yeah. I was just trying to think of different ones. I'm like, how much do we want to put on the art teacher here too, to say, hey, can you come in and do touch-ups? And
Right.
because if you keep up on the touch-ups, it won't take long.
Exactly. It won't be long, exactly, so. That's great, I'm glad that you guys appreciate that, then when I come up with other ideas for in Snyder itself, like some of the paintings inside are old inside, I don't know where they've come from, you guys have more history here than I do, to say, oh, that person painted that, you can't go over those, but, this is a start, and it's outside, so it'll be good for the families to come, because we won't be worried so much about the mess, because it's just mulch, the paint will be getting on, so, I'm pretty excited about it. Miles said he'd bring Sophia if it wasn't on a Monday night with gymnastics, so, you can bring Honda, so.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think that sounds good. No?
Thank you very much, I appreciate your time.
Okay. Okay. So now we need a motion and a second to move from open session to closed session for discussion of appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, ongoing, pending, or probable litigation, semi-annual review of closed session minutes at 8:36 PM. Oh, Rusty and Jonathan. They're both super excited.
Trustee Leppelman. Jason Rowland. Yes. Sadie Ingram. Yes. Kenna Johnson. Yes. Jonathan Yeagle. Yes. Rusty Warren.
Yes.
Ramsey Miller.
Yes. Okay, someone close, shut that off. Oh, he actually had a good question. My brother drives me crazy. If you don't know my brother, I want to wait for they to shut it off, then I'll ask it.